I'm going to be talking about is better athletic performance with brain training. So, who here has a brain? Yeah, I hope all of you are raising your hands right now. There'd be a problem if you weren't. So, one of the things, and also, how many of you guys here train like in practice, maybe do speed training, maybe do weight training? So, do you guys do a lot of like physical activity, right, for your training pretty often? All right. But all of us have a brain. What controls all of our muscles in our body? Okay. And what controls, let's say, your ability to juke past another player? Okay. So, your brain is what controls everything for your body, for your system. It controls everything chemically. It controls everything motor and movement you do. So your brain is this super important tool, but how many of us are doing brain-specific exercises? Why not? You guys all got a brain, what's going on? So, but actually, a lot of the stuff you guys are doing when you are out practicing, I would consider that brain training. Now, what I do with athletes is I find where their kind of deficits are, where their imbalances are. Maybe they have something they want to work on, their speed, maybe their agility, maybe their ability to see the field better. So when athletes come to me and they want to work on these things, well, I basically figure out what's going on with their brain that's maybe inhibiting that. What's making them maybe just not quite as good as the player next to them that has some of these abilities. Because yeah, some of us are born, right, with just natural talent. I'm sure all of you are actually born with natural talent when it comes to soccer and athletics. But that doesn't mean we're necessarily great at everything, right? There's always stuff we can work on. And honestly, the work you put in will almost always outshine someone with purely just athletic ability, because you can be just as good as that person who naturally has that, if not better, because of the amount of work you put in. And that has to do with how your brain learns. So, getting to brain training. Go ahead, hit next. All right, anyone know who this guy is?
Tom Brady, I'm guessing.
Okay, you're right. I saw some hands go up. Honestly, I probably wouldn't have known who this guy was. But, Tom Brady. So, how many people would consider him to be a really great athlete? Okay, many people would consider him to probably be one of the best quarterbacks, potentially of all time. I know everyone's got their own team and their own feelings about that. But what's interesting about Tom Brady is, right, we can see how successful he was in his career, in his athleticism. That's what makes him able to do what he does professionally, right? But did you know what pick Tom Brady was when he first got drafted?
He was like, I can't remember. It was like he was in the 6th round.
Okay.
I can't remember.
You got it? 199th in the 6th round. There's 7 rounds you get picked from. Pretty much Tom Brady was almost last for getting picked. But he happened to be one of the greatest athletes of all time in football. So why is that? Anyone got any ideas of why Tom Brady could be as good as he was when he really wasn't as good as the first draft picks initially?
People just oversaw him because of some of his like athletic capabilities instead of his like mental.
Okay, so being overseen. Can someone actually help me write some stuff down on the whiteboard? Come on over. All right. So I'll have you write down, and I'll have you guys just kind of throw some things out here. What would you consider, what kind of attributes or what kind of things do you think you would need to be a professional athlete? Anything. Feel free. Spitball at me. What do you got?
Hard work.
Hard work. Let's write it down. I would agree with that for sure. Focus. Gosh, you guys are on it right now. And I'm going to tell you why you're on it, because I'm going to show you something later that's literally, you guys have already said the first 2 of the 5 things. Perseverance. Gosh. Are you guys all like straight A students or something? Because all right, we got any other, what makes you potentially a great athlete? What else? Dedication. Yeah, I would include that. It's probably like perseverance, hard work, but still, I love the adjective. Is that an adjective? Is it a verb? Somebody smarter than me in here, tell me. Okay, it's fine. All right. One more thing. Let's throw out one more thing that you guys think it takes to be a great athlete.
Athleticism.
Yes, mate, let's keep it simple. Athleticism. Awesome. So, let's go to next, please. So why was he so good? So yes, you guys put actually a lot of the things down, and I actually had a little mild cheat sheet, but go ahead, click to the next one. Next one. Don't mind my PowerPoint skills right now. Next one. No. Go one more, please. And one more again. Okay. So I was curious about this when I was thinking about what I was going to talk to you guys about. Okay, what makes someone a great athlete? And so I started doing some research, and I came across Dr. Stankovic. So he is a psychologist who basically he studies sports psychology and athletic success. So what makes athletes as good as they are? Do you have a question? Okay. Learning from their mistakes. Let's throw that one up there. So he wrote this article, The Top 5 Reasons Why Athletes Fail to Live Up to Their Full Success. So this is why you guys are like mind readers or something. First one he put was poor focus. So go ahead if you don't mind. Let's do it in black, and I'll actually, who else wants to come up and write some stuff? Come and do it. It's whoever's hand goes up first, guys, all right? This is the athletic part. You got to be quick. All right. So, poor focus. The second one, can't control nerves. So, getting nervous on the field. The third one, lack of belief in yourself. And let me know if you need me to say these over again. Lack of belief. B-E-L-I-E-F. The fourth one, blaming others. So when we, let's say, don't have a good day, instead of maybe just looking at what we could have done better, I think it's always good to see the positives first and what we did well, and then where could we have done better, versus having a bad day, it's coach's fault. Fifth one, not willing to outwork the competition. So, how many of you guys here want to be better at soccer? It's okay if you don't. You honestly don't have to raise your hand, but I think it's awesome that you guys do. Anyone here want to play in high school if you're not already? Okay. Anyone have any goals of trying to make varsity their freshman year? That was my goal. I made it my sophomore year. It's okay. All right. Anyone want to play college level? Okay, we got a few. That's okay if you're unsure. Anyone maybe want to play professionally? Okay, all right. So, of the things we've talked about here, and you guys, thank you ladies, feel free to just kind of put those there. I might call you up again to help me out. I would say Tom Brady, for him to be able to go from kind of basically being told he was last pick to being one of the greatest of all time, had to have probably a great belief in himself. I mean, I know for me, I don't know for you guys, but sometimes, right, being picked last, you're kind of like, well, is it me? Is it I'm not good enough? And sometimes, right, we can get in our own head about simple things like that. But how important it is to not care about that, to just believe in your capabilities. And this is amazing how the brain works. So your brain, and so there's 3 things I want you guys, exercises, I'm going to give you guys today as takeaways. One of the first ones that I want to teach you guys and want you to understand, because this is like the 3 things I'm going to give you are what I see the professional athletes I help do regularly. Or if they come to see me, I have them do it, and we start seeing really cool changes in how they're moving on the field. So the first thing that I want you guys to get out of today is understanding Your brain doesn't know the difference between what you see in reality and what you think. So actually, when you dream, your brain thinks that's actually happening, which is why sometimes nightmares, we wake up and we're panicking, right? Yes?
Is that why they do the fake fall thing? Like when they fall, just like they were like just falling straight down?
Fake fall. What is that?
Yeah, like when they make like, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so building trust, yeah, so basically your brain thinks you're actually falling, potentially from a high place, but trusting somebody who's catching you. So similar. So I would say, what I would say to you guys is, how many of you guys ever visualize, do visualization stuff? Picture in your head, you, let's say, doing a certain move, scoring a goal. You do that? That's awesome. You do that? You do that? I will say with a lot of the professional athletes I've worked with, this is something they do. And so the person, go ahead, back up just a little bit for me. One of the people that I wanted you guys that, again, another, yeah, keep pressing it. We're going to go back to, other one. Yeah, that guy, keep going, keep going, keep going. There we go. All right, so anyone know who this guy is? I mean, he's kind of whatever, all those gold medals on his chest. Michael Phelps, yes, you had it right. So, again, how many of you would consider him to be probably one of the best swimmers of all time? He's a swimmer, and he is great. So, he's won tons of Olympic gold medals, and it was really interesting. I was reading a book that had him in it, and it was this was a book about mindset. One of the things that Michael Phelps did from a young age coming up was he would visualize, and his coach made him do this. He made him do it at night before bed. He made him do it when he woke up in the morning. And he basically also had him do it before his practices, which was visualize what he wanted to get out of something he was trying to learn that day. Or basically visualizing himself winning a race. Other things he visualized was what would happen if his water got in his goggles as he was swimming. You can't just stop your race and say, hey, let me just fix my goggles real quick, guys. So basically what he would do, he would visualize anything that could go wrong and him overcoming it in his races. So he basically, one of the things he did was, because it was common, I guess, with swimmers to have goggles fog up or water get in there, he would picture having to finish his race in the dark with his eyes closed. So this actually happened to him at his last Olympics. It was his third race. He had already won his first two races. He was at his last race. And that's just what happened. His goggles fogged up. It never happened to him before in a race, but it did this time. What do you think happened? Did he win the race or did he not win the race? He won the race. Do you know why he won the race? Yes. He had already trained his brain and his system to know exactly what to do in that moment. So this is something that you guys can do regularly to get better at whatever skills, whatever you're trying to achieve, without even actually having to physically practice. So another cool thing, and I can even tell you something interesting about this too. They've done studies to see, can we actually grow our muscles just by thinking about it? Do you guys think you can? No? Oh, you can. So in this study, they basically had one set of people doing a bunch of bicep curls, certain reps, certain sets, over and over, did it over a certain amount of weeks. They had the other group of people just think about doing the same amount of sets and reps of bicep curls. They didn't actually do them, they just thought about it. The group that actually did the bicep curls had about 30% muscle growth. How many percent muscle growth do you think the group who just thought about it had? 50. Love the numbers, guys. 28% muscle growth for the people who just thought about it, and only 2% more for the people who actually did it. So this is how powerful your brain is, and how much you guys can tap into is just your thoughts. How cool is that? Blows my mind every day. All right, so this is something that I want to actually real quick all of us to do, and I want you guys to, when I have you do this exercise, I really want you guys to think about what you feel in your body. I want you to feel like when I have you picture something right now, okay, so real quick, I want you guys to pick a skill or a game that you want to win, whether it's finishing the finishing goal, maybe it's making the pass, something like that. So pick something real quick, guys. I'm going to give you a few seconds to think about what it is you want to visualize, okay? Let me know. Raise your hand when you got the thing that you want to visualize. Boom. Okay, keep them up until I got everyone here who's got something they want to visualize. There we go. All right, guys. So what I'm going to have you do, we're going to close our eyes. And I want you guys to place yourself, whether, let's say, on the field, if this is something soccer related. It doesn't always have to be, but because I know you guys are trying to get better at your sport, you're on the field. And I want you to take a nice deep inhale, and I want you to picture and actually see if you can, like, what it smells like. Picture what it smells like out on the field. Maybe what you're hearing, maybe there's other athletes around. I want you to see if you can kind of feel the squishy grass. Just picture feeling that grass beneath your feet. And with all those kind of visual senses tapped in now, I want you guys to picture doing that thing 5 to 10 times over right now, hitting it perfectly, whether you're nailing the perfect shot, your team is winning with a finishing goal. I want you guys to picture this 5 to 10 times over and over and feeling every sensation that I just talked about, what it feels like beneath your feet when your foot strikes that ball. The joy you feel when that ball either goes in the goal, maybe you juked past someone and it was just like the coolest juke you've done so far. I want you to feel all the things that of joy, happiness, and just like excited for yourself. And I want you guys, once you've played this over once, all these things, let's go through it a few more times. What it felt like when that ball struck your foot, the feeling of that foot planting into the grass or the turf, all the power you generated through that leg, and I want you to picture nailing it perfect over and over and just being so excited about it. Awesome. All right, once you guys have done that a few times, go ahead and open your eyes. How many of you felt like you were kind of there, like you were doing the shot, doing the thing? Yeah. This is all you guys have to do. So what I'd recommend, pick something you're trying to get good at. And picture this 10 to 20 times over before you go to bed. Picture it when you wake up first thing in the morning. It doesn't take that long, right? But it's the reps that matter, just like it's the reps that matter when you guys are practicing on the field. Any questions about what we just did? Nope? Okay. So, go ahead, you can click the next button. So the other parts here that I want to go over, and something I would put here that I know it's not necessarily related to just like the mental side of the game, but one of the things that I see consistently stop people from being able to attain what they're trying to attain with their sport is injuries. So the two things that I do the most with the brain training work I do is I help people basically be able to attain the skills they're looking for, but in that prevent injuries. Your brain has this perfect map of every single part of your body. So what happens when we get typically injured? It's because our brain has poor mapping of that area. When we have a pain signal, oftentimes where that pain signal is coming from is because of that area not being well mapped to your brain. Your brain's like, wait, where is that part of my body? And when that happens, the muscles tighten up, the joints get closed down, you feel tight and stiff, and then when you try and go to do your sprint, your squat, you're kicking the ball, and that joint is tight and locked up because your brain is like, I don't know where it's at, I need to protect it. That's when you strain stuff. That's when you tear things. So it's super important for your brain to have this mapping of your system. So when we do this brain training, your brain is just mapping your body like crazy with this stuff. So, with that said, give me my map so I don't get too off track here. All right, so go ahead, go to the next thing for me. Next one. We're going to go through a few more slides that seem the same because I don't know how to do PowerPoint. Next one. Okay, so how can brain training help you? So how many here, and it's okay if this isn't your goal, but if it is, how many of you guys want to be faster? Okay, what if I told you your inner ear mechanisms are one of the things that actually make you as fast as you can possibly be? It's not just about how much you're pumping your arms and your legs. This whole inner ear mechanism is what's sending signals to your brain telling you that you're moving forward and then how to basically catch up to that. So essentially, sprinting is actually falling and your legs catching up. Well, our ability when we move certain directions, what's telling us that we know how to move that way? Your eyes, your inner ears, and your tissue receptors. So when I help people and athletes like you guys, what I'm looking for is all those things that tell the brain, I know where I'm at in space. I know what I'm doing, because when your brain knows where you're at in space, that's when the movement side comes in. That's when your brain's like, oh, I'm connected. I know what they're seeing 100%. I know what's going on and what the inner ear is telling me. I'm going to allow them to tap into all of their potential. So what I find is it's little deficits in eyes, little deficits in the inner ear that actually are what keep your potential maybe here when you could easily be here. And the amazing thing about the brain is it makes changes like this. So this is how I test everyone in the office. It's, let's see a movement. Let's see a range of motion. Let's see something you're trying to get better at. And then I have you, I'll do my little weird neuro stuff. I'll find a drill for you. You do that drill after a few reps and retest. If I see better movement quality, range of motion, maybe less pain, these are all things telling me your brain's like, yes, I'm getting the information I need to allow you to tap into your potential. So, who wants better ball handling skills? That was something I definitely always wanted. How many of you know that decision making is one of the most important things about your sport? Yeah, you got to know where that player's going, where that player's going, where the ball is, who's in front, who's behind. There's a million things going on at once. And your brain actually has areas to help with all this. The insular cortex, don't worry about what that is, inner cerebellum. But basically, these parts of your brains are integrators. So when it's taking in all this information, it's like, okay, file it here, so you can do all these things you want to do. So these are areas, again, when people are struggling with decision making, that's something I help with. Ability to see the field. So I remember growing up playing soccer, that was something that was always highly spoken of, was that players that can see the field are usually really, really good players. What does that mean to you guys? What does seeing the field mean to some of you?
You can tell everyone where people are.
Okay.
How the defense and the offense and the midfield move together.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Anything else you guys feel like is important about seeing the field?
Knowing where people are at and how to react.
Yes, so big part of why seeing the field is so important is so that you can make a decision, have the agility and speed to react, right, to what's going on. So what would you say, do you guys, so maybe you know this, which is why I'm asking, because you guys seem like a smart bunch. Do you know what visual skill helps you to see the field? What part of your vision? Okay, yes, what else? Anything else? It's okay if that's all we got is eyes. So, your peripheral vision. This is the first thing to go when we get stressed out on the field. Your vision automatically, have any of you guys ever been like super stressed out and gotten tunnel vision and been like, it's like you're seeing through a pinhole? Okay. So this part of your nervous system is automatically connected with that part of your vision. They did a really interesting study with a bunch of football players at few different college teams where they had them do peripheral vision training skills for only 2 weeks. It cut down their concussions from 22 a season to 2. Why do you think that is? Because you can actually see who's about to basically plow into you and move out of the way. So peripheral vision isn't just going to be important for stepping out of the way and avoiding concussions. And think about, too, I see soccer players get concussions all the time from what thing?
The ball. The
Players.
Who said head? Heads colliding is where I see soccer players have the most issues with concussions. So if you had the ability, though, so how much peripheral vision do you think you're supposed to have? And I'm going to say, so remember, if you're looking straight ahead, so everyone real quick, look straight ahead for me. Just lock your eyes on something in front. Now, even though you're looking at something in front, you guys see everything kind of else out and around you? Yeah. Okay. So if, let's say, how much peripheral vision do you think you're supposed to have? So I'm going to keep going back with my arms, and you tell me where I'm not supposed to be able to see anymore, okay? So just say stop when you think. Nope, I'm going to keep going.
Stop.
Nope, I'm going to keep going.
Stop.
Nope, I'm going to keep going.
Stop.
Here. So you guys should have anywhere from basically 100 to 110 degrees of peripheral vision. Real quick, I want you guys to do this with me. Stand up real quick.
For the people that, okay, just for example, Kaya, what side were you able to see farther?
I think it's my left.
Now what's your weak side on diving?
Right.
So she was able to see farther to her left side, which is her strong side of diving. She wasn't able to see as far on her right side, which is her weak side of diving.
Interesting.
Maybe a little bit?
Coach knows something. Coach knows something over here about the brain stuff. Okay. All right. Coach, did you do it with us?
I did not.
Next time, make him do it at practice. Okay, guys? All right. So, what are the 2 exercises so far that you guys can start doing right now? Visualization? Yes. How easy is that? You guys can do that all the time. Okay, what was the second one? Yes. So something about that, right? There's one thing that I kind of, in general, this is a generalization, but something that makes basically really good athletes good at what they do, and other people who play in the same sport kind of not quite as good. How many of you guys would say, like, professional athletes almost make it look easy? Like it looks effortless? Yeah, I would say that too, because I definitely don't look as good as them. Do you guys maybe have any thoughts of why maybe that is?
Because they really good.
That board right there. Yes, that is part of it. But one of the things is they have this fine ability to go from tension to relaxation. They have that ability to stay calm on the field, and when they need to, react really quickly, be explosive. So one of the things that you guys, just easy to think about when you're doing this peripheral stuff, if you start to notice anything tense up, relax it, okay? And think about that same thing on the field. Like, you guys don't always need to be in a very tense position. You might need to be in a ready position, but it doesn't mean your traps need to be up here. And it doesn't mean you need to be squeezing everything. It just means you need to be ready. So there's that fine balance between calm and that fine balance between getting and going. All right, so speed, I put the dog. Agility, foot skills, hand-eye or foot coordination. So one of the fun things I like to use with athletes, where'd my ball go?
Right there, the thing.
Ah, thank you. All right, so one of the fun things I like to do with athletes, and it depends on their sport, because we have eye-foot coordination, which most of you are using unless you're goalies. Then you got hand-eye coordination. How many of you are goalies here? Oh my gosh, I'm just talking to goalies then. All right, so I'm going to throw this ball around a little bit. I'm going to make sure I make eye contact with you first so it doesn't hit you in your noggin. Then I'm causing a concussion. Okay. But the trick is, I want you guys, when you catch this, you're going to follow it all the way into your hand. So I want you to be looking at it. Whatever the last letter is you see, make contact, and that's what's covered up. I want you to say it out loud. Oh, all right. Huh? So if like this H is flying at me and I'm like watching the H, I have to be able to call the H instead of being like, it was H, it was H. All right, so look alive, guys. What was it?
C.
Let's see it. Is it C? Oh, it was a P. Okay, she had a C. All right. Last one that hits your palm, guys. Back there, you ready? Almost had it. We're going one more. You can use both hands too, guys. Doesn't have to just be one. All right, call it, then open up your hand, all right? I don't want any cheaters around here. In the back, you guys ready? You ready? Okay. All right, let's go. One of you guys back there, you ready? I'm looking at one of you right now. Just be ready, whoever it's coming to. All right, so for those of you who have done this so far, is this kind of harder than you thought it would be?
No.
You want to try? Here we go.
Can I try?
What side is your hand touching? So, hand-eye coordination skills, guys. This is an easy way to get really good at knowing exactly where your hands are going to be catching and touching that ball, okay? Get a white soccer ball, put some big letters, maybe in red, like on there, different sides of it, and then when you're basically having someone shoot shots at you, see if you can catch it and know exactly P. It was P, okay? You can start off easy with just someone tossing it to you, but once you guys get good, you will be able to handle someone firing shots at you, and it's almost like that ball is slowing down and you know exactly where it's making contact. All right, one more in the back. You guys ready? I'll get you guys too. Was it O? I was like, I don't know if I throw an O on there. All right, ready?
L. There was nothing.
All right, guys. So all right, and so I'll tell you a little bit about when you guys come in the office, there's some really cool, and let's go to the next one because this will be able to show you. Okay, definitely the next one. Okay, so my background actually, I played soccer growing up. I played club from the time I started playing when I was 5, but started playing club probably around 10. I played until my sophomore year of high school. My goal was to make varsity. Once I made varsity, I was like, okay, I'm good with not doing soccer anymore. But the reason for that was my other sport I played was I rode horses competitively, and I actually got an equestrian scholarship. You can actually get scholarships to ride horses for colleges. I did that. I got to ride for a school on the East Coast. Kind of sad I had to sell my show horse. I wish I had a picture of him up here before I left for school. But so I did play a college sport at a D1 school, or at least mine was D1, my program. Question?
Did you do like middle school soccer too? Like the 7th and 8th grade?
I played club. We didn't have like a school program for soccer. Yeah. But once I got out of college, or basically middle of college, I started doing CrossFit and Olympic lifting, which is why you see my face look scary and I'm holding heavy weights over my head. That is me.
That's you.
So what I do in office, all right, so I use these really cool things because, yes, am I going to do some interesting ICE tests on you guys, some interesting inner ear tests to basically see how your input systems to your brain, so you guys, again, can have this optimal motor output response. But I also like to see numbers. I want to see how much force you're generating. I want to see what imbalances you have side to side. So something really cool that we have at our office is these force decks. So a lot of professional sports teams use these to basically be able to see how athletes are generating force, have them do some sort of a training cycle, and then have them get back on and see how much better they got. So what's cool for stuff like you guys are doing, we can test, for you it's going to be a lot of sprinting stuff. So we would do single leg balance tests. We would do some single leg force generation stuff because everything running is actually single leg. You're not hopping like bunnies, right? So, but we will be able to do that. And then also, we have this thing called a dynamometer. It's kind of like a tiny version of this, but we can basically test how strong different joints are that you're going to be using for soccer. So that includes your hip flexion, right? Kicking, following through. We're also going to test, on top of that, hip extension or hamstring stuff, basically, because when you're sprinting, you have to go into hip extension as well as hip flexion, right? So we use these to test and see where you guys are at. So that way, when I start finding some of these exercises that are helping you, we can also see some pretty cool data and numbers on how it's actually helping you. You guys can see, because the more force you generate, the faster you are, the stronger you are. So that's something cool that basically we would do on one of your visits. So one of the other exercises I want to show you guys that I do, and I'll have a few of you, okay, I need 3 volunteers. Coach, you get to pick. Who's coming up for this one? So our neurons need 3 things to function. Do you guys know what those are?
No.
What'd you say? Neutrons.
Water.
Like Jimmy Neutron? I mean, that's like everything we're made of, but Yes. So I'll tell you what they are. Our neurons, which are what control, again, the whole brain, the whole rest of the system, we need oxygen, we need nutrients, and we need activation. Activation is going to come from you moving your body, you learning something. So never stop learning. You'll keep your brain from degenerating. So don't just sit in front of a TV. I promise it's not helping you. The other thing is nutrients. So a big part of what I do in my practice is making sure that people are eating what they need to be eating to fuel themselves. And you guys need to also make sure that you are eating and drinking water. It's the only way to allow your brain to have optimal function to then for you guys to be optimal athletes. So the breathing part. I work a lot on, and so does my partner in our practice, work on teaching people how to breathe properly. One of the things that I see with athletes is they actually oftentimes have sometimes over oxygen consumption and they don't have enough CO2 in their system. There's this fine balance between oxygen and CO2. Who's taking chemistry right now? Okay. Nice. So chemistry, you learn about these things. I wasn't a fan of chem. I like physics better, but besides the point. So one of the things I want to teach you and have your coach be able to do for you guys is actually when you increase CO2 in your system, you're going to be able to increase your endurance performance on the field so you can last longer without getting tired. Talk about outworking your opponent, one. But two, you upregulate the part of your brain that controls how accurate you are, how balanced you are, and how coordinated you are. Basically, the three things you guys need to be better athletes than the person next to you. So what this drill is going to be, go ahead, stand up for me. So if we were on a field right now, I'd have you guys do this drill running, okay? I'd probably have like a 25-meter mark. What you would do on the field and what your coach would have you do, you guys would start up at the starting line. You guys would take a breath in at the same time. You would exhale all the air out of your body. Once all that air is out, you hold. You don't inhale again, and you sprint your 25 meters. And then once you get to that end, then you get to inhale. So what this does is it increases the CO2 in your system. I would recommend that you guys do this for probably 5 to 10 times. Rest a little bit in between, okay? Make sure you're still getting the oxygen in. But rest a little bit in between. Do it 5 to 10 times before your practice and about 5 times after your practice. You guys over time will see tremendous differences in your endurance if you work on this. And it doesn't take very long, honestly. So what I'm going to make you guys do is just feel what it feels like, okay? I'll talk you through it first. You're going to take that breath in. We'll all do it together. Exhale all the way. You're going to hold the exhale. Then you're going to squat as many times as you can without breathing in yet until you can't handle it anymore. And then you stand up and you take a breath in, okay? So, you guys, the goal is you only come up for air when you only basically get a little bit panicky, okay? So when you come up for air, I don't want you guys, all right? I want you to be able to come up for air, take a breath in, and then you feel like you're totally back to normal, okay? So we're going to do this one more time. So yeah, go ahead, take a seat, guys. Thank you so much for all of that. Do you guys have any questions for me? I know I talked about a lot of funky stuff today.
So, like, if we're holding a cup or something in our hand, like, such to shake uncontrollably, does our brain do that, or is it just something uncontrollable?
So if you were holding something and it was shaking uncontrollably, it is possible that it's the brain, but a lot of times what I find with people, athletes, is peripheral nerve entrapment. So basically, the nerve that comes, let's say, for your arm out of your neck, runs down the arm, can get entrapped anywhere on the way down. And when that happens, the signal from the brain to that muscle doesn't always get where it should, and so basically the muscles will misfire. So a lot of times when we have injuries, we can get these nerve entrapments, and that's nerve tensioning, nerve flossing, different things like that can actually help free up the nerve and stop things like that. Any other questions? Yep.
If any of them have like a chronic injury that they've been dealing with, what's one thing that they can do? Obviously, like it's not anything big. It's just kind of like, we'll just say like a bone bruise or something like that. That's just nagging and nagging and nagging. What's something that they can do to kind of help with that?
So the first question I would ask is, why do they keep getting the bone bruise? So,
Shingo hurts.
A lot of the times, because as keepers, they're throwing their bodies around constantly, right? So the impact that they have with their body to the ground is just constant. They're constantly impacting the ground.
are they getting bone bruises in the exact same spot, or are they getting them? Okay. Well, and the reason I ask is because a lot of times, like when I see, like, let's say something like that, right? Like a heel bruise. Usually what would cause like a repetitive injury in the same spot is some sort of muscle imbalance. What's going on that basically they aren't having enough balance, equal distribution, that side is just constantly taking more force essentially. So that's why it's like, I was like, it's not necessarily a simple answer, but things that basically like maintenance care that I like to do as an athlete myself and I recommend athletes do, like you can use like cold therapy, honestly can be amazing. So even if you guys after hard days, there's different research to say whatever, but I know as an athlete and experiencing what cold does for my system and what I've seen it do for other athletes, use ice to help maintain just making sure inflammation stays out of the system, injuries are healing how they should, and that includes, how many of you have done an ice bath? Ice baths are amazing for your system. There's so many cool things chemically that it does for you, but that's something that I would, honestly, I do maintenance-wise. I jump in a cold pool and sit there for 3 minutes.
I got thrown in the snow. Does that count?
Hypothermia does not count, okay? Other things that you guys can do, like the biggest thing, mobility, I would say staying flexible, maintaining flexible tissues. So that does include things like stretching. I don't always recommend stretching before, like static stretching, like let me just hold my hamstring stretch before really active activity. It decreases force and can actually lead to potential injury. So I like to do more dynamic warm-ups. Stretching, great for after your workouts though, to keep those tissues flexible. Honestly, even 5 minutes a day, guys, will keep you from getting injured like significantly. Or who has a foam roller?
A what?
Who has a lacrosse ball that they dig into things? Yeah, what about a tennis ball?
What is that?
A lacrosse ball? Well, in lacrosse, they have like super hard little rubber balls. So sometimes that can be used to help basically keep your tissues flexible and not getting like scarred up. So doing stuff like that daily, guys, is going to make a big difference for you too. Any other questions?
No, I think a lot of the injuries I see from keepers always happen when they're doing something on like their weak side. Like every keeper has a weak side, so whether it's like the left side or right side, whatever side they're diving on, they have that weak side, and I always usually see that injury
Okay.
going with their weak side because they're either not diving correctly,
Mm-hmm.
or like they're misstepping and then going, they're just off balance when they're diving that way.
Okay.
That's kind of what I
Okay. And so some things that I would like want, like even run a check for that, right? Because yeah, we always usually have some sort of a stronger side, but watching them move, I would want to get video of how they're moving because again, like any movement we do, that's a lot of inner ear telling me where I'm at in space. So I look for a lot of like those deficits to see like, is that part of the inner ear not getting enough stimulation? So when it's not, your brain's like, oh no, where am I at? And that's when people like do weird stuff when they're trying to compensate basically. Any other questions, guys? Nope, awesome. All right, so I have something to offer you guys. If you have any interest, you guys can take this home to your parents, but any interest in doing a basically sports performance evaluation and a treatment, I'm offering basically 20% off the initial visit. So if you guys have questions, I'm happy to talk with you and your parents just on the phone and talk to you about what visits look like, what would this evaluation look like, time, cost, all that kind of stuff. Perfect. So that's just something I'm offering to you guys, and if you have any questions, let your parents know that they can text me, call me. My work number is my private number because I want my patients to be able to be in contact with me.
Take one, pass it down.
There should be enough for them in the back.
So if you guys also too, if you guys have any kind of chronic things that keep coming up, maybe it's a knee pain, it goes away and then it comes back, it goes away and it comes back, stuff like that, guys, I also would not just let go, because that's usually what leads to something really bad, and it usually ends up to other injuries happening other places of the body because there's some sort of imbalance that's not getting figured out. So take care of yourselves, take care of your bodies, love yourself, eat good food. You guys are going to be good. All right. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate your time.